Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from Delta CX. We're a full service CX and UX agency, so check us out on the web. It's the web. Today, we are very excited to have the first in what will be a series of shows that we're going to do once a month at the end of the month. And we've got 3 planned, and today is the first. And this is going to be called The Realities of Working in UX. And we've got a panel with 3 special guests who are friends of the show, some names you might recognize from the show or the Slack channel. And oh, yes, by the way, you can join the Slack channel. Thanks for asking. It's completely free. deltacx.link/join Slack. And of course, here on YouTube, won't you usability test the subscribe button? Thank you so much. So we're going to be meeting people at the end of each month for the next few months and fire your questions at them. We're going to be asking people, what is it really like to work in UX? Because some people think it is all sticky notes, rainbows, and delight. So let's get to the bottom of that. And of course, I have reminded our panelists to please tell stories as honestly as they would like, but leave names out of it. So please do not ask our panelists, where did you work when that happened, or what was that person's name? We're not going to tell you. Also note, I predict there will be some swearing this evening. So if you are sensitive to foul language, this show might not be for you. So let's bring in our panelists and meet them. You know them, you love them. It's Shaleen, Michelle, and Wilson. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to start by asking each of you to spell your name, tell us a little about yourself and how you learned UX so we can get to know you. Shaleen first.
Hi everybody, my name is Shaleen. My full name is Shaleen Sachdeva. I spell first name Shalleen. My surname is Sachdeva, Sachdeva. I have been in UX. Oh, Item. I've been in UX industry for over 6 years. I moved from graphic design to visual design and then did my master's from London Kingston University, and now I'm into UX, doing everything which UX designer does, real thing. And that's me.
Okay, hi, Me. Great to meet you. And yes, you're correct. I-10 and her panda bears are here. So is Solomon and VT. Hi, everybody. Michelle, let's get to know you. Tell us about you.
Hi, my name is Michelle Pakron. Last name is Pakron. I've been in the industry for about 20 years now. I started off by studying graphic design and psychology in college, and then became a web designer and just kept going from there and picking stuff up. All of the true UX things that I do, I taught myself through books, or I went to conferences or something like that, but mostly self-taught. Yeah, that's what I do.
Okay, excellent. I-10 says she has to leave. She'll catch us later. Sorry. Hi, Elijah. Wilson, tell us about you.
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Wilson. It's Wilson, Thai Thai. So I've been a UX designer for a couple of years. Previously, I did a little bit of graphic design here and there. I have a boot camp background, unfortunately.
We still
I
love you.
also I also did some traditional school there as well. Just haven't completed the program, and I will talk a little bit more about that later here today. And yeah, I'm currently working for a startup.
Super, super. And just in case I'm new to anybody here, I've been doing the CX UX strategy, architecture, research design thing since 1995. I am self-taught. I have a degree in music, so I'm certainly not going to poop on anybody else's education, though I'm not happy with boot camps. And I started working more formally in UX in the late 2000s, and then moved into it extremely formally around 2011. So kind of 10 super formal years on my resume and 25 loosey-goosey years. Hi, Vazia. Hi, everybody. Good to see all the friends of the show. So I think just for fun, let me ask each of you, if you had to pick 3 words to describe working in UX, What 3 words would you pick? All words are welcome. Again, it's the show can be rated R, but let's not go for rated X. Let's keep it, R and lower. I do mark these videos as not for children on YouTube. So let's start. Michelle, do you have 3 words that you would use to describe working in UX?
I've got 2 so far. I put challenging and frustrating,
Okay.
but I was going to put something more positive.
Good, but you couldn't find it.
Well, no, I do. It's why I love UX is that it's 50 different things all at once. It's not just one path. It takes. I'm kind of one of those people who likes to do 400 different things. I'm not happy just knowing one thing. And I thought I was going to be a scientist when I started, and I'm here doing UX. But I get to use all that kind of sciencey stuff. I get to use psychology. I get to use design. All of these things, technical skills, all every day. So whatever that word is, multifaceted usage of your brainage, that challenging just because it is what it is. Your job is to find solutions to problems. And that's always a challenge, but that's fun to me. And then frustrating because everywhere I work, I'm always like, where are the caveats? Oh, no people. I can't interview anybody. No one knows what UX is. I'm a UX team of 1 always. So that type of stuff. But all in all, it's positive.
Now, since I assume Shaleen's going to need a gun to answer this, I'm going to go to Wilson next. Wilson, do you have 3 words that describe working in UX?
I wrote down confusing, fun, and emotional.
Okay. Positive and negative emotions?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I would say confusing because, as someone starting out in the field, for example, especially now more than ever, it's very confusing as to, okay, what kind of education out there is good and what is just fluff, and what do we need to learn that will help us in our career and just get our foot in the door. And there's just so many resources out there, and it's piling up on top of each other. We don't know okay, what is good, right? And fun, yeah, I agree with Michelle. There are so many things that go within UX that we have to think about, and it's not just design. There's research involved, there's working with people involved, and understanding the business. There's just so much to go with it. It's never a dull moment with UX. And then emotional, that goes along the same thing with that as well. It's just sometimes you have to pick your battles, know when to push for something, when to push back, and yeah, it's very emotional.
All right, thank you. And of course, Solomon's 3 words were why? And I-10 left some questions for me, but we'll get to those later. Shaleen, 3 words. Let me guess. Get my gun.
Get my gun. No, I would actually be on that same line. I would say it's a civil war.
Civil war. You get one more word.
It is a civil war. Look,
Okay.
I added 4. Sorry.
Okay, we'll allow it. We're flexible here. Any color you want to add to that? Why is it a civil
Green?
war? Who are you fighting against?
That's a long
Green.
story. I guess we're fighting against a lot of people who thinks UX is doing beautiful UI, who thinks UX is just do wireframes, who says, oh, research is equal to market research. So yeah, I guess we'll get into it later.
Oh, yeah, we got plenty of time to get into it. I just have a couple of warm-up questions, and we already have some questions from the chat room. Another question I wanted to ask, and we'll go around, and maybe I'll start with Wilson first, is given what a lot of people seem to think or understand about UX, what do you think is possibly the biggest misconception about day-to-day work in UX?
That's a good question.
Well, thank you.
I think from my experience, coming out from a boot camp, I thought that, hey, this is how we do things. We start with empathizing with the users, figuring out what are their needs,
Oh,
and
thanks, Shreya.
and just follow the step-by-step approach that's been taught. the 5-step approach, and I thought this is the right way to do it. And that's how we should do things for every project. But it's not flexible. I didn't learn about flexibility, and I just was really confused. So it takes a lot of learning in different companies that you work for as well, depending on what's their maturity of UX, and how much do you know to implement those processes, like best practices, and what are the best practices. Like, I was so confused when I first started, so it takes a lot of learning, even after your boot camp education. And yeah.
Yeah, never done learning. Shaleen, you this time, second. What do you think? Biggest misconception about working in UX? Not necessarily about what UX is or does, but misconceptions that maybe newbies or people who hope to get into UX seem to think about working here.
I guess something which people think is UX is easy. It's, you get a lot of money. It's like, highest paid job, though it's not. And what I have seen over the period of time is people think UX means you buy a beautiful MacBook Pro and iMac, you just put it over there, and then, you just open it and start doing designing, like, create beautiful designs, or you say, oh, come out with different graphics and everything. But that's exactly the opposite of what UX like it's a biggest misconception is, oh, if I'll be a UX designer, I'm going to earn more, I'm going to do beautiful designs, I'm going to be very innovative, very creative. But I like what Wilson said. Um, exactly what he did after finishing my master's. I just feel like that 1 year master's was not enough. I would love to study more. I'm still figuring out things. I'm still learning. I'm still every day there is something new which comes out, and it's a lot. It's not just you come and sit in your front of your table and you start. That's not what it is. You have to run around, you have to tackle lots of things in a day-to-day life. And I'll stop there.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Michelle, biggest misconception about day-to-day UX work?
To me, the biggest misconception is that there's one idea of what UX work is. Every place I've worked at as a UX person has been a completely different job. The expectations were different. The actual understanding of the role was different. You could be a UX designer at one company and be literally expected to be a visual designer, whereas at another company you could have the same title of UX and be expected to do research and design and maybe do front end development, or or they could just think you're a front end developer. That's why it's so important when you're interviewing to really find out what the job is, because the titles are mostly nonsense. Every single job, when you first get in there, you're trying to figure out, what am I actually going to do here? Because it is completely different, and it's never like how the books say it is. It's never this perfect, precious little, here's the 5 steps you follow. It's never like that. You might be literally called in on your first day and someone's like, we need to build a form. We need to do it in 5 minutes. Go do it. You need to be able, can you do that? Do you have the ability to go do that? Or do you think, oh, I got to go do 3 weeks of research to do a form? You might not be able to do stuff like that. It really just does depend where you work and what the expectations are. So it's a grab bag of different.
Yep, and of course Solomon's filling the chat room with jokes. Just open your laptop and launch a design tool. He thinks that's a joke, but I once interviewed someone at a serious UX job, senior UX job, and I said to the guy, so what's your UX process? And he said, well, I just open up Illustrator and I start working. And I said, no, I'm sorry, your UX process. What's your UX process? He goes, yeah, I just open Photoshop or Illustrator and I start working. And I was like, do not want to hire. So, yeah, it's out there, folks. All right. Meanwhile, I've changed, while no one was looking, I've been changing the layering of stuff. Hopefully, if people set off emoji, they'll show up on top of me as well. All right, let's take a look at some of the chat room stuff that has come in. And the first question was from I-10 before she left, and she said, What's the most unexpected thing for you when you started your first full-time job? So, for some of you, that's a long way back. For some of you, not so long ago. Do you remember what was the most unexpected thing about that first full-time job? Who remembers their first full-time job and wants to jump in and answer first? Wilson, it
I
wasn't that
guess.
long ago. I'm going to pick you. You're in your
Uh,
second UX job, right?
yes.
Okay.
And it's been interesting. I guess learning learning the agile like Scrum framework. I'm not used to it, and trying to figure out how UX, get involved and how to estimate like time to do research, um, estimate how much time I can do the designs as well. Like, it's kind of hard because I'm not used to it, and there's still so much I need to learn about research as well. Uh, yeah, it's something that I still need to learn so much of, and um, yeah, I don't know. That's what, just like I never work with a framework like that where it's like super fast and your timeline and kind of like you have to fit your timeline as well with other people in your team. And there's just like so much that goes involved. Like if you're working on a project and it blocks other people's, then how do we kind of figure out what's the priority for those different projects are? And yes, I'm still so new to the whole framework.
All right, thanks. Michelle, how about you? Do you remember your first job? What was surprising?
So this is like 20 years ago. But for me, what I remember is trying to convince the developers on my team that just because the thing we built worked for them, that wasn't the end. I was like, you're not the user, man. I used to run around I had a thing that I printed out. You are not the user, because everybody just thought as long as it works for me, we're good to go. And I'm like, no, dude, you're not. So that was the biggest thing that I could remember from 20 years ago. But you're still not the damn user. So
That's right. That hasn't changed. Has not changed. Good point. Shaleen, first UX job?
So I'll divide my answers into two. My first UX job, after I'd finished my master's, I would say it was beautiful because I landed in a team where my lead designer, or my line manager, you can say, uh, knew what UX is. He's been working in this industry for 30 years. So I guess I'll say in this part, I was very lucky. He got me to do research, he got me to do user testing, got me to do interviews. We sat down and we created personas based on those interviews. So it was one of the nicest jobs I had. My Before that, when I did finish my bachelor's and went to my first UX job, I actually learned how to design for iOS and Android and how it is different in terms of the experience and the way things are laid out. And it was totally a new thing for me. I was like, wow, I had no idea there was so much difference. And I remember making, icons for each and every Android sizes. iOS goes different. And that was part of me doing wireframings and designing because I was at that time more visual, getting into UX kind of a thing. So they both were quite good for me. Of course, I've experienced what Michelle and Wilson has later on, but my first one was actually, touchwood, nice.
And Kayleen wants to know if you're comfortable saying who your good manager was.
I would happily take his name. He is Dr. John McCarthy. And if I still get a chance to work with him, I will go leave everything and go work with him because it was an amazing team he had. No micromanagement, yet enough support for us to do everything we wanted. Uh, I just enjoyed it.
Super. We have so many questions flying into the chat room. That's why I don't show our guests the chat room. I10 left us with another one that I'll throw at all of you. How do you explain UX to friends and family? I think I'll start with Shaleen. She hasn't gone first yet. Shaleen, how would you explain UX to non-UX friends and family?
I used to go about saying now I don't really do it. I don't put efforts in it anymore. But before, when I was super excited, when I was like, oh, I've just finished my master's, I'm a UX designer, and people like, what is UX design? I was like, the website you're using right now, the app which you're using right now, it's all designed by a UX designer with lots of effort, lots of research, understanding what you require, what you don't require. And I was like, oh, so you mean, this WhatsApp which I'm using? And that's how I used to generally go about. Now I just don't bother bother at all.
There you go. Michelle?
I used to say or try to explain that's, it's strategy, research, analysis, and design. It's not just the UI. Now I just say I design software because it's so much easier. And people, they know what that means.
I give up, says Michelle. Oops, sorry, I've got a bug flying around. Wilson, how about you? How do you describe it?
Yeah, it really depends on the person. If it's like my parents, I would just tell them like, if you look at this app on your phone, it's like, yeah, I help like, design stuff for that. And it's just like make it as simple as possible for them. And English is not their first language as well. So yeah, try to keep it simple for them. If it's like friends, I try to go a little bit more in depth. I tend to talk a little bit more about research, like really understanding who the customers are, trying to, provide the best solution for the customers and balance that with some business requirements and stuff like that. And yeah, it really depends on the person.
And we're getting a quote now over on LinkedIn, and my system's not showing the name, so it's probably Larry Marine. And he says, as I like to say, if you've ever been to a website that was really hard to use, a UXer didn't design it. That comes pretty close to the way that I describe UX to people. Pretty much, I say like, hey, can you think of a website or an app that was just so awful, it didn't match what you needed at all, you uninstalled it, you wanted to throw your computer out the window, and then people go, oh yeah, I go, they didn't hire someone like me. And then I'll go into like, I work with people like you to learn how you use things like this and what you need so that we can build something that's closer to what you need. And people are like, yeah, I would want that. Wow, that's a job. So that's usually where I go with that definition. We've got so many questions coming in. We had 2 from Kayleen 14 minutes ago. Thanks for your patience, Kayleen. And this one says, any strategies that work for you to increase research and rapport with coworkers? So anything that you've done to improve, I guess, research and coworker rapport? Who wants to jump on that one first? It's 2 questions rolled into one, so pick one and answer it. Who wants to jump on either of those?
I can do it.
I can speak
Shaleen.
to. Oh, go ahead.
So I'll be really quick. So I have experienced this. I guess when you're working with clients, when you're working with a team who has no idea what research is, and they're like, why are you wasting time? What are you doing? The stakeholders like, what are you doing? The good part is to actually get in step by step, not just throw everything saying this is what research is, we are going to do this and that, but go one step at a time, be really slow. Maybe just for example, you are working on a product and it's not as per, this is not the right way to do it. Just quietly get some time in, do some usability sessions, get some things out so that you can actually show what it is, and then step by step get that planning done properly. Like start with small, win that small battle, then increase, plan basically. And that's my answer for the first question which you asked. Don't know what to say about the second one. So Michelle, up to you.
For the first part, I think it really depends on where you work. Where I just came from, it was understood in our team that I was the UX lead. And the developers don't build anything until it comes, because I was also the product owner, so I wrote the stories. So it was baked in to our team that they don't get to ignore me. I didn't provide them suggestions. I wrote the stories. I said, this is what we're going to do. So that helped a whole bunch. But for the second part, Be friends with your team. I spent all day long working in Slack, in Zoom, with my developers, with QA team, with the analysts and the project managers and the technical architects. I was buddies with everybody and I worked with them all day long. You cannot be an island. UX cannot be off to its side. It must be fully integrated. You must make sure that your voice is heard and known, and you're not just the consultant that they go to when they need to know, is this good or bad? No, no. You are integrated and you're part of that team all day long.
And quick follow up, Kayleen wants to know how it went to be both UX and product owner.
It was great because I got to tell people.
Nobody
I got to write
blocked
the
you.
story. Well, yeah, there's nobody blocking me, and it's like, it was great for me because it worked for my personality, because I'm getting an MBA right now, so I'm very business oriented. So that kind of product management stuff comes naturally to me and I'm interested in it. And I've also got a background in front end development, so I have a language that I can share with our developers. So being able to write these stories and these highly technical specifications for them, my team loved it because they were really nerdy and told them everything they had to do. And I also gave them full high fidelity mocks that showed them everything they needed to do. And I had meetings with the whole team and I explained everything, why we're doing it. Here's blah, 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 blah. You got any questions? Y'all think something should be better? Blah, blah, blah. I integrated all of them into everything. I didn't treat them as, hey guys, this is what you're going to do. Too bad. It wasn't like that at all. It really was just a role. And that's really all a PO is a role. The PO is not the boss, so any PO that behaves that way is doing it wrong. But it worked out well because we all knew what our roles were on the team, and so our devs were happy that I was doing this because they didn't want to do this stuff. They just wanted to know what they needed to build. That's at the end of the day what devs want. They want to know the specs. What do I got to build? Cool. So it worked out great for me, but it might not work out great for all you. I'm not saying all UX people should be POs. You have to have a certain set of knowledge, and you have to have the certain kind of mindset to be able to do both.
Thanks. Wilson, anything you want to add from your experience there? Rapport with coworkers.
It might be a little bit longer story, but in a past company, the maturity of UX there was pretty much non-existent. And I was the very first UX hire. And immediately I got thrown into a really big project to kind of revamp their product, and there was no research, not even any marketing type of research as well. So I was working off of just wireframes created by my manager, and from there I immediately thought, okay, sure, I'll design some mock-ups for it, some high fidelity mock-ups for it. I did that, and then there's just always that lingering feeling that I'm missing a lot of important information to help me design. And so I spoke to my manager and asked him, can I do some research and actually talk to our customers using the product and see what they think and really understand who they are. I don't even know who I'm designing this product for, right? So I mentioned that to my manager, and they were against it. They think they don't have the time for it, don't have the budget for it. So I still pushed for it. I went to other people in my company, spoke with the client success marketing team, asked them where can I talk to some of the customers, and eventually I was able to get access to that side of things. I was able to talk to them. I was able to do some interviews and some usability testing, and then got some really great insights, and even invited my manager and other people in the company to see the value in that, and they saw the value in that. And it's really sometimes you really have to push back and say you really need to do it, and you have to be creative with the solutions and the strategies, as just really see where you can get those resources from. If you can't get it from your manager, then you find other people to get those resources. So in my current company, it was in a way similar situation. Their maturity is a little higher. They've have had other UX designers working here before, but it was kind of me trying to implement in the agile framework. And it took a while to kind of figure out like, all right, what can I do in a short time to show this is, kind of like figuring out how to kind of give an estimate on how much time it takes for me to do research and how can I provide value in to get their buy-in kind of before, making a bigger type plan within the framework. So I don't want to kind of just dive in deeply. So I'm still trying to figure out like a great way for that to implement the process.
Thank you. Thank you for the detailed answer. I hope everybody got something from that. Hi, Darren. Darren's joining in. He's UX Uncensored on YouTube. Everybody follow him there. We've got 6 more questions queued up, so I might have to ask everybody to switch to the lightning version because the show's already half over. So the lightning version means see if you can give us shorter versions of the answer if possible. Though this one, of course, sounds like it's going to pull out stories, but we'll try anyway. Kayleen wants to know, how do you decide which things to let go and which things to fight about? So remember, this is about how do you decide that? Lightning round version. Who wants to start? Shaleen is wincing. Shaleen, are you okay? Not okay. Trigger warning.
Yeah. No, I will start later. Somebody
You'll
go
start
ahead.
later. Okay. Who's Wilson? You got something there about picking your battles?
It depends on like how big of the project is and how much value it provides the users and the business. If it's like something bigger and that needs like discovery, then yes, that was something I would have to fight about because I'm not gonna, do any guesswork. It's like that feeling, that lingering feeling of doing any guesswork, it just kills me, and I'm not. That's something I have to fight about.
And of course, this is directed at Shaleen. Solomon wants to remind us the show has been PG-13 so far. I'm directing that at Shaleen. But let's go to Michelle and give Shaleen a little more time. Michelle, picking your battles, any advice for the audience?
Yeah, I think if it's something like with the developers where maybe they're not interpreting your stories correctly and like, you're sweating the pixels. Sometimes you've got to like let some things go and care more about the overall functionality. Does that work? Is that correct? And put bugs in and hope they get fixed at the end. But you've got to pick some of those battles, particularly with your developers. If it's up front and you're at the point where you're actually kind of designing the solution, it's what's the return on investment for this feature or this thing I'm fighting for? Is this something that, yeah, there is a better way to do it, but this thing over here actually has the most value for users. I'm going to fight for that than the thing that has, barely any value at all. So more value, more fight.
Got it. Shaleen, anything to add to what they've said?
Yeah, actually, I can remember in my past company, I had an in-house design team. They were more like print graphic designing, and they designed website logos and everything for us. And they used to just pass on with it. When I started there, I was like, what are you designing? Everything is teal, everything is gray, everything is black scale, like, beautiful for print, but not accessible for website. So in the start, I fought a lot by saying, let's change it. We can't use it. We can't use it. And I just realized that it's just a waste of time for me. Next time, whenever they did that, we just picked up the color which is more accessible to our website, changed the hues and the tones a little bit, and just used it and ignored whatever. And we just send out our side of guidelines saying, guys, on the website, to be accessible, we are using this. That's it. And if you want to fight about it, we have accessibility guidelines. We follow VCAG, and give all the reasoning over there. And I just realized it's pointless fighting with them because they are just going to do what they feel like. They are going to use the fonts which are paid, which we can't really use. So we'll pick up our own and we'll do our own bit. We'll focus on the digital side of it. That's what we are for now.
Super, and thank you for adding to that. Next question comes from VTR, and it says, how can a person with an engineering background who's now in UX, I believe this means like improve their skills if they lack graphic design skills? I certainly have
Learn
an
it.
answer to that. Okay, we've got learn it. There you go. If you lack graphic design skills, learn them.
It's like anything. You go into something and like, gee, I don't know how to do this. Well, go figure it out. I don't understand.
What's the question?
It doesn't matter what your background is. You don't know what it is. You don't know how to do something until you know how to do it, right? So if there's something you don't know how to do, there's about 8 bajillion resources out there where you can go figure it out and learn it. That's how I've learned everything I know how to do. No one taught it to me. I went and poked it and figured it out, view source, whatever, until I figured it out. Do that.
Anybody want to add to that?
I'm going to be a little bit honest on it, and you can shoot me if you want. But to be in UX, you don't really need a graphic design skills. You don't have to be good at drawing. You don't have to be beautiful at making wireframes. Graphic designing is I have done my bachelor's in graphic designing. I moved from graphic to visual, moved from visual to UX. So it's a very creative path for me. I make beautiful wireframes, but that does not mean that, it can be just because I can make beautiful things doesn't mean my UX is great, or the other way around. Just because you can't draw, that doesn't mean you cannot do solutions. You can still create solutions. You do not need those beautiful graphic-y skills at all.
Upside down ketchup bottle. Wilson, anything to add in our lightning round?
Yeah, I was gonna say like graphic design can be important, but at the same time, I'm actually currently working with a graphic designer, and they don't have the experience of design for mobile. It's very different for like designing print versus mobile. There are things that can't be too pretty, and you gotta think about the coding aspect of it, like building the product and how much effort you need to put in the design, how much effort, like it's more about the functionality first before the design, and then the design comes after if we have the time and the budget for it.
Yeah, and I just want to remind everybody I'm not a visual designer either. So I've managed to have a career this long without having an art background. I have a degree in music. I'm a pretty bad artist. You know this because many of the graphics that rolled out were made by me. And so when you see this one, congratulations, that's me. When you see this one, did that too. And they're all pretty bad. You can tell when I didn't do the graphics because they actually look really good. I paid someone to do Four Horsemen. So I believe very strongly that you can have a long career in research or information architecture, interaction design, and not be strong in graphic design. Yes, there are many jobs that expect you to be the visual designer, but I expect that to shift when we start using more design systems. When we start using more design systems, not everybody is going to have to be the visual designer. That's just my thoughts there. So let's drag in a fun question from Larry Marine, who says, what is it about UX that seems to give folks an aha moment or a UX epiphany? Anybody want to talk about what's the secret sauce in what we do that gives people aha moments and UX epiphanies? Michelle, you've probably seen a few UX epiphanies here and there.
Yeah. I think it's the application of like psychology and like research when you find out maybe you were building this thing and you all had this great idea, and then you actually talk to users. I worked at a company where we did, it was a financial company, and we spent all this time building these interfaces that output, like for this fund, here's all the data points for it. And then when we actually talked to financial analysts who actually sold, not advisors who sold them to their clients, they're like, we don't ever use your website. We have our own proprietary systems that tell us all this stuff. So that was an aha moment, and we wouldn't have known it unless we had talked to these people. But basically, all this thing, the stuff we spent all day long worrying about, designing, and caring about, we were hearing from our actual users that they didn't care about it at all because they used a proprietary system to get that data. You won't know that type of thing unless you talk to people. That's the kind of aha thing I think of, is that you're not going to get that by just reading some cool articles or playing around in Sketch. You have to talk to people to get those insights.
Great, thank you. Anybody else want to add something to that?
Yeah, I will say exactly
Everybody.
what Michelle's. Oh,
I
sorry.
will go with
Wilson, go
Wilson
ahead.
first.
Yeah, I was just gonna say exactly what Michelle said. Just from my past company, if I didn't push for talking to people, that we wouldn't have figured out there was like a huge problem that they're currently not using the product the way it was built. And after the fact that we got those insights, everything makes more sense on the problems that we're trying to solve.
Shaleen?
Yeah, exactly what Michelle and Wilson said. I've in my past company, I worked for, it was more like you can say entertainment services where people, they launched with 11 languages where you can watch movies and TV series with 11 languages from different parts of the country and the world, to be very honest. And they were like really happy that we have launched it, but it all failed. And we then decided to do usability sessions. We spoke to people, and it was a aha moment because we realized that nobody actually uses those services because there's Netflix, there's other things. So we have to be really, we actually went back from 11 languages to one single language. And that was thanks to the sessions which we did. And we figured out that people are not actually going to use it because they have better services. Why should they pay for something? Also, they were not very, brand loyal. The brand which I was working for, um, people use it for cheap calling and everything. So it was not like, oh, we are very brand loyal, we will use it. It was like, nah, we can find it better information somewhere else. Why come over here? And it was like, people were mind blown. We were like, wow, this is a change. So yeah, I mean, it was one of my best projects, to be honest.
Cool, thank you. We have oh God, I have so many questions. I'm gonna have to pick and choose them. We only have 15 minutes left. I'm gonna go with Solomon's question here, which was, who at your jobs do you find that you are collaborating with the most? Wilson, who do you collaborate with the most?
Actually collaborate most with the front end developers. There are sometimes designs um, that they need input on, some changes that needs to be made because of time constraints. How can I simplify the design for them so that they can finish the design in the time that they have? Um, and sometimes just not overcomplicating the design. So really collaborating with front end developers is helping me learn a lot about the technical side. So yeah.
Shaleen, who do you collaborate with the most?
Um, Product owner, other designer, BA, front-end developer.
Everybody.
Yeah, those are the main people and the most people I'm talking to. So yeah.
Okay, she collaborates with everybody the most. Michelle, how about you?
Probably my developers, because they're the people who bring your solution to fruition. You need to be working with them daily to make sure that they understand what needs to be built and why. And if there's issues, I need to know them immediately so that we can figure out another way to do something or whatever. But developers.
All right. We have a question. Thank you to Larry for moving over to YouTube. Larry Marine is back and he wants to know, what's your favorite I told you so story? All right, I think we can do medium-sized stories here. Who's comfortable telling an I told you so story? Should I start? Or I'll go last. So, anyone ready? Crying on the inside? Hello?
Mine's gonna be the same as before, which is like being
Oh,
able to
that's
talk to the customers. Yeah.
right. Being able to, yeah, that was a good one. Yep, told you so. There you go. Charlene, Michelle, do you have an I told you so?
I don't have
Yeah, I guess
anything popping out.
Okay, if you think of one, let us
no.
know. Charlene,
Mm,
15,000 stories.
A lot of stories. I guess I'll say the last one I told you about working with a telecom company and entertainment company, and we actually we told you so. It was not really I, but we as a UX team said we told you so. Uh, yeah, I mean there are more, but then it will take ages to tell the stories.
I'm going to tell a story if you don't mind. So, everybody, put on the pot of coffee. This one might take a few minutes. So, this was also, say, in the last, let's just call it the last 5 years of my career. So, it wasn't when I was a newbie. This was somewhat recent. And we were working on something, and I probably shouldn't say what, but let's just say the team was working on something, and I had designed something, and the engineering lead didn't agree. The engineering lead wanted us to design something different because he liked something better, and he wanted us to go with his design. And I said, no, we shouldn't go with your design. Here's the 12,000 reasons why it's not a good way to go. It's inconsistent from other paradigms we already have. Like, I had a whole list of things. It wasn't just my opinion versus yours. I was able to sustain an argument as to why I thought thank you. Thank you, VTR, for the super chat. Thank you so much. And it says, having hard times cracking interviews as employers look at graphic design skills. Any more advice? Was part of that super chat. Again, before I get back to my story, again, if you feel like you're having trouble with interviews because you need more graphic design skills that you don't have, I can only agree with what we said before, which is work on graphic design skills or apply to jobs that do not require you to do graphic design, which is what I do because I'm a poor graphic designer and I only apply for jobs that don't require that of me. So back to the story. I apologize. So of course I said, well, here's the possible outcomes of what could happen if we launch your version to the public. And again, without telling too much of the story, the possible outcome I gave them was that because people would be confused about how to pay with the app and they were in a store, they would leave the store without paying, which would cause, oh, thanks, Mags, which would cause which would cause our security to drag them into a back room as shoplifters because the app would be confusing for payment. So like I said, this isn't just like a small mistake or a bug. This would be like, we think people are shoplifting when they didn't mean to. And they told me I was being hysterical and dramatic and that they were going to, no, VTR, you're fine. They were going to build the engineer's idea. So I said, okay, I'll just document this as, a risk and document what I designed as plan B if your idea doesn't work. And they were going to put it into a pilot situation first. About 3 days into the pilot situation, I get into a meeting and they say, people are leaving the store without paying. They can't figure out the payment. Luckily, because it was a pilot situation, our security knew not to jump them, but we did have to very carefully walk people through paying so that they could leave with the merchandise. And I said, okay, so we learned that your idea didn't work. How about we now design mine? And the product manager and the engineering lead looked at me and they said, no, make the engineering lead's idea work. And I said, but we just learned it didn't work. Like, what do you think I do? Like, I said, I can't.
Yeah, why are you there in the first place?
I said, I can't turn a bad idea into a good idea. That's not what I do. I come up with the good ideas, or I make good ideas better ideas, or I keep us from building bad ideas. Like, I already predicted this. Like, I can't make your idea better. Your idea wasn't good, and we just learned it wasn't, and you built it, and you piloted it. So I don't think that's a story about collaboration, but it's certainly a story about some of the realities of that Larry asked for I told you so. And I don't think I said I told you so. I think I found like a gentle way to be like, I had previously documented my concerns about, boop, bop, a beep. But Funny enough, just to extend the story a little bit, the next thing that happened was they threw me off the project. They said, well, you know what? We don't really need UX right now. We're just going to go clean up the backlog a little bit. We've got enough to work with. We don't need you right now. Let's save on the budget. And they threw me off. But these were the Keystone cops. And they had started updating JIRA tickets that were assigned to me. And they started updating them as like, designs are done, ready for development, ready for testing. And I'm like, they're making designs and all this stuff without me on the team. So I forwarded all these emails to my manager and I said, the team is designing without me. They threw me off the team. Now they're making designs. And the manager goes, oh, let me look into this. And he comes back to me and goes, no, the engineering lead said they're just cleaning up the backlog. And I said, you know, it's going to be really easy to compare whatever they come out with the designs I left them with. Like, this is a lie that's going to be figured out. And then my manager dug a little bit deeper and he found that they were doing designs without any UX person on. They threw me off to do their own designs. And so my manager quickly assigned someone else. And Larry says, oh, come on, just put some lipstick on that bad idea. Yeah. So there you go, Larry. That's one of my many I told you so stories. If you want to see more, I made a whole bunch of them into a keynote speech and did it at a conference in Frankfurt a few years ago. And I called it, Let's Not Congratulate Ourselves Just Yet, which was a pun I had written by the same guy who painted the Four Horsemen. He is a genius. Artist, poet, comedian, all the things. So let me see. We've got a few more minutes. Let's see if I can pick one more question. I think I'll pick a question that came in from LinkedIn, and it says, what are some tips to getting that first UX job? Who remembers getting their first UX job? For me, it was be willing to be paid very, very little and say yes just for the experience. Wilson, you too?
Yeah, honestly, it's networking is amazing, especially on LinkedIn. If you have, friends as well from different companies, just like shooting them a message. I did a lot of that, and I wasn't comfortable with it. I was a very introverted person, but eventually you get out of your comfort zone and start talking to a bunch of different people, and you're able to build your network, and you know what's available, and yeah, just talk to people.
All right, talk to people. Michelle, tips for first UX job.
It's hard for me because my first jobs were before UX was like a thing, at least in the South where I'm from. I started off as a web designer and just kept going. But I would say that the jobs that I got back then, just know your domain and be able to answer the questions, be able to speak to why you did something, even if this is 20 years ago and it's a cute little website I did, or if it's an IA you did or whatever it is, speak to why you did it and be able to really back it up. Don't just be like, oh, I thought it was the right thing. Like, don't be mouses. You have to, that's not a word, mouses. I made that up.
I like it.
Good Lord. If you're being hired as a UX person, you're being hired as an expert in UX, so behave that way. Don't be like, hey, can I do research? Hey, can I do this? That's your job. That's what you're hired for. Go do it and behave that way. And then that's how I would do it. And that's how I've gotten it. I just assume I'm supposed to do this because I was hired to be the expert. So behave that way, even in the interview.
I cannot back up Michelle more on what she just said. It's advice I often give people. I say, you got the job. They want you to do this. Go do this. Stop asking for permission. Just freaking go do it. Yes. Shaleen, I don't think we called on you here. Something to add there?
Very similar to what Michelle said, and a mixture of what Wilson said. I did a lot of networking. I came to UK to do my master's, and the day I landed here, I just started networking. I dropped in very weird messages to people saying, hi, I'm looking for an internship or something like that. And that's how I landed my first, after my master's, first job. especially being an international student who needs a visa and everything, it's not that easy. So I remember running to different parts of Greater London, which I have no idea how to reach, being late and everything. But it paid off. And you know, I would say when you're creating your portfolio, when you're doing that, if it's even just one or two case studies, exactly what Michelle said, have the stories right, tell why you did it, and not just, oh, because I felt like, because I found it beautiful, because I've seen it somewhere. Why you did it is very important. And exactly, yes, just go
Oh,
do it.
thanks again.
Do not, no. And yeah, you are a UX designer, behave like a UX designer. And I guess still I remind myself is, stop asking for permissions. That's your job. You've been hired to do UX. Do it.
Yeah, thanks for that. So advice for first job, I would probably tell people, don't stop learning. Just because you got the job doesn't mean you're done improving your skills. If you're having trouble getting that first job, go look at the jobs that interest you. Look at what skills they're expecting and how much experience. Reverse engineer it and work on that. And your first job or two is going to be kissing frogs. It's gonna suck, and stick with it, and just get that stuff on your CV and move on. So VTR is looking to get our attention with some super chats, and it works. Thank you again. He says, he or she, I don't know, says fellow UX designers sometimes are not as collaborative as developers are with each other. Does anybody know why? I've been on both sides. I don't know. I would say in my experience, the UX designers have been collaborative with each other, and I've been lucky to work in places where UX has been collaborative with engineers. So that doesn't match my experience. Have any of you had that experience where UX didn't collaborate well with each other? Okay, sounds like the ladies. Shaleen, you want to start there?
Yeah, I have had this problem. We are two UX designers. We were like, working on the same project, but it's just, I guess, the mindset and the ways of working were not same. Either I was too passionate or he was too passionate. I'm not sure, but it's just you can't turn around and say, I do not want to be there, or I do not want like this person. You have to work together. You have to get to know each other, be a little bit more comfortable in that area. um and share, do a daily sessions, I would say. uh and yeah, you need to get over that thing. You need to come to a common place and be like, okay, we need to get it work, else you will be doing something else, that person will be doing something else. It's going to be a disaster over there, and there will be a time you might want to kill each other as well. I said it.
I hope Shaleen only has Nerf guns. I'm so worried over there.
Only Nerf guns, yeah.
Nerf guns only, please. Michelle, something to add to that?
Yeah, I worked at a place where I was hired as a UX designer, and with the understanding that it was a UX design role. And when I got there, it wound up being a UI designer. And I was like, I can't do UI without doing the thinking. I got to do the UX to do this. And so I would butt heads with the UX analysts, which is the people who actually got to do the thinking, because I'm like, I know how to do what you do. I've been doing it. And I was just being handed basically boxes and arrows. And I'm like, awesome. It was frustrating for me because I was like, you put me in a box over here. And I'm like, no, that's like this much of my skill set. So I think the biggest problem is that I was hired to do something that's just a teeny portion of what I knew how to do, with the understanding that it was a different job. And so over time, I had to basically just show that I could do the whole thing, and then made them change my title and all that good stuff. But some of the people I worked with were just, I think they thought because they were analysts that, I was a lesser person there, even though I'd been doing what they do for a long time, longer than they did. So it was a little hard to deal with some of the attitudes. But over time they left. So then it got better.
Hey, it gets better. And
Yay.
Wilson, I think you've been UX team of one at both of your jobs.
Yeah, so yeah, the past company, it was a very interesting experience. I wanted to join a lot of different meetings to understand more about the product, understand more about the business. Reaching out to my manager, like letting them know, like I want to be more, part of this conversation, so I understand like what are the business requirements? Who are we building this for? Why are we building this? Is it solving the right problem? And I haven't got the chance to join any meetings pretty much, and it's been very not collaborative for me for working with any of the managers, any of the developers, and it's only when there's like a big problem that then they would let me join in once in a while. But yeah, it hindered my ability to do my work, and I had to push for research in the beginning. That was a big red flag already, and it's yeah it's been a hectic experience, but I I would say yeah, collaboration is a key, especially if you want to have a holistic understanding of the company and who the customers are as well.
All right, so we're running out of time. So what I'm going to quickly do, other than thank everybody for being here and in the live chat room today, we've got 20 people live on YouTube, and I didn't even check how many on LinkedIn. So thanks to everybody for joining live. We're going to go around the panel and just ask each of you where people can find you, follow you, connect with you, if you're writers, tweeters, LinkedIners. So just in the same order we did last time, Shaleen, where can people find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very, very, very active on LinkedIn. It's my social media. It's my Facebook, basically. And of course, if you're on Delta CX, you'll be seeing me there as well, commenting and bringing up guns everywhere. Exactly. Join the Slack. It's good.
Thank you.
And yeah, that's where you find me. If you want me to find me on Instagram, you can do it, but I just might not follow you back. So yeah.
Well, at least we got that out there. Thank you. Michelle, how can we find and stalk you?
Similar on LinkedIn. I'm getting more and more active there. I'm also on your Slack channel and also hopefully getting more active there. I am on Instagram. I have one of my dogs has his own little Instagram feed, and I have mine. Of course, most of the stuff that's on Instagram is just cool photos of toys or something dumb. But if you're into that, you can check me out there.
Super. Wilson?
Yeah, LinkedIn as well. And also, yeah, the Delta CX Slack. I'm always on both consistently.
Thank you. Thank you to the people who just became a member. Very sweet of you. Thank you. And of course, the people, you can find these lovely people on the Delta CX Slack, at least as of when we're recording this. And it is completely free. There's no membership fee or anything like that. It's deltacx.link/join Slack. We do have a couple of behavior rules, but other than that, we welcome everybody, and swear words and real life and and bring your real self. The chat room says, please make Discord as well. Nope, I'm just trying to make one of everything and focus people there. One YouTube channel, one online community. I don't want to break this up into lots of little pieces and have some people over in Discord, some people over in Slack, some people on YouTube, some people somewhere else. So I apologize. I know some people prefer Discord, but since we are mostly a channel talking about work and business, I find that Slack is a good match since many of us are using it anyway for some of our work stuff. So I apologize there. But hopefully people will still consider joining. So I guess you can always make your own Delta CX fan Discord and let me know how it goes. I can't stop you there, but I can't promote it here and I can't run it. So everybody find everybody. And remember, we're going to be doing, as of now, 3 of these. So join us in late September and late October for what's going to be 6 other panelists and some other favorites, friends of the show, and some people who you may not have seen before on the show. There's going to be lots of new people for you to meet, and you're welcome to ask them new questions or same questions. And other than that, remember, we've got a couple of shows coming up. Everybody knows I like to tell you about that. Let's see. Tomorrow is office hours, Ask Me Anything. Wednesday, I'm going to be doing my Medium article about getting UX jobs with no qualifications. So we'll be going through that. Friday, of course, is the reaction stream. Some of you have been sending me boot camps and programs. I'm going to do those on a separate show. Monday taking off, Tuesday office hours Ask Me Anything, Wednesday the 8th monthly Slack networking. We do a live video call in AirMeet for people who are members of the Slack. No charge at all. We do it once a month, and you'll have to be in the Slack to get to the live events channel to get the link. That's all. Special edition Thursday the 9th, Michelle Ronson is back for storytelling in UX research. Friday the 10th, reaction stream. Remember, you can also find this over on deltacx.link/events. And don't forget, this is the last 2 days for our summer giveaway. deltacx.link/giveaway. Today, this summer giveaway is I will send you a box of Italian pasta. So make sure you can receive mail from Italy, y'all. Also mark your calendars for Monday the 13th. We just added this one. This is going to be Leon Dries coming back talking about how to give shorter and more concise interview answers. Improve your interview storytelling. We can all improve there. Tuesday the 14th is Office Hours Ask Us Anything with Three Musketeers, Debbie, Darren, and Nick. And Wednesday the 15th, when nobody was looking, I added a micro lesson on interpreting unmoderated research. Since everybody enjoyed last week's setting up unmoderated research, I'll show you how I interpret these things. So that's pretty much the next few weeks. Thanks again to our guests. I'm going to play us out of here with our beautiful ending commercial. But other than that, everybody be well, stay well, wear 13 masks, 14 if it's tomorrow, and I will see you all very soon. Thanks again, everybody. Bye. Customer centricity as business intelligence. Visit deltacx.com to learn why we are